In the dead of night, rain lashes the hospital windows as a lone nurse sits in silence, haunted by ghosts she buried long ago. Then the doors crash open, a wounded Navy SEAL on a stretcher, blood soaking his uniform, guarded by a fierce German shepherd that snarls at every approaching hand, refusing to let anyone near his dying partner. But when the nurse steps forward, the dog pauses, sniffs, and something impossible flickers in its eyes. A secret from the past is about to awaken. If this already pulls you in, like, share, and subscribe, because this story is just beginning. Rain fell steadily against the hospital windows that night, a soft, persistent rhythm like distant memories tapping on glass. The ER waiting area lay quiet under fluorescent lights, shadows pooling in the corners. It was the kind of hour when the world outside seemed to hold its breath, and inside, time moved slower than usual. Riley Morgan sat alone on the edge of a worn vinyl chair. 35 years old, a woman with fair skin and shoulder-length blonde hair tied back in a simple high ponytail. She wore the light blue scrubs of her trade, long-sleeved tunic and pants, white sneakers, still clean after hours on the floor. Her blue eyes carried a quiet weariness, the kind that comes not from one long shift, but from years of carrying what cannot be set down. She had come to this work to balance the scales, to give back what war had taken, but the nights still found her isolated. No family waited at home. No voice greeted her when the door closed behind her. PTSD had taught her caution. Attachment, she believed, only invited more loss. So she sat, gazing at the rain-streaked glass, feeling the familiar ache of solitude settle deeper with each drop. The clock showed 2:14 when the doors burst open. A stretcher rolled in fast, pushed by two soldiers whose boots left wet prints on the tile. On it lay Caleb Walker, a Navy SEAL, 33, tanned skin now pale from blood loss, short military brown hair matted with sweat, dark brown eyes closed in unconsciousness. His muscular frame, built for endurance, was limp beneath the torn olive-gray combat uniform, shredded along the left side where shrapnel had torn through. Bandages, hastily applied in the field, were soaked dark red. The air carried the sharp scent of iron and wet fabric. Beside the stretcher moved Blitz, a 4-year-old German shepherd, black and tan coat sleek under the lights, his strong body coiled with purpose. He wore a black tactical canine vest marked with Navy SEAL patches, the short leash trailing unused. Erect ears forward, sharp eyes locked on his handler, he stayed shoulder to shoulder with the gurney, a low rumble in his throat warning anyone who drew too close. Blitz had shielded Caleb from the blast in training. He had kept the man breathing through the ride, refusing to leave. That bond was palpable, loyalty given without question, a quiet promise that one would not abandon the other. Riley rose slowly. The dog's presence struck her first. The familiar saddleback pattern, the alert posture, it was the same as the one she had known long ago, the one that had died for her in the desert. For a moment she froze, breath caught. Then Blitz turned his head. His nostrils flared. He caught her scent, something old, buried, yet unmistakable. The growl softened, not to submission, but to recognition, a single step toward her, ears twitching. In that instant, across the chaos of shouts and rushing staff, a thread from the past reached forward, fragile and unexpected. Riley stepped closer, heart steady, despite the tremor in her memory. The room had frozen around the dog's warning. Security hovered at the edges, hands near belts. Doctors called for animal control, but she knelt, low and calm, eyes meeting Blitz's. He did not lunge. Instead, he held still, as though waiting for something only he understood. In the silence between breaths, Riley felt the weight of years shift just a fraction. The rain continued outside, steady and indifferent. Inside, a wounded man waited for help. A loyal dog stood guard, and a woman who had learned to live alone suddenly sensed the possibility of something more, a connection not chosen but simply there, waiting to be acknowledged. She exhaled softly. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, steady as a heartbeat, while rain continued its quiet drumming on the windows. In the trauma bay, The air was thick with antiseptic and the metallic tang of blood. Machines beeped softly, a fragile rhythm against the tension that held every breath. Riley knelt beside the stretcher, her knees pressing into the cool tile. She moved without hurry, her blue eyes level with Blitz's sharp gaze. The German shepherd stood rigid, black and tan coat bristling, every muscle taut with the duty he had carried since the blast. His low growl had silenced the room, doctors frozen mid-step, security hovering at the doorway. Riley felt the weight of those eyes, not hostile now, but searching. She leaned close, her voice low, barely above a whisper. 6 words from a life long buried slipped from her lips, a code no one in this hospital would ever understand. Blitz's ears flicked. The growl stopped. His body eased, shoulders dropping as he sat, head lowered gently against Caleb's chest. The room exhaled. In that moment, memory rose unbidden. A desert night, years ago. Sand in her mouth, fire everywhere. Another German shepherd, same colors, same steady gaze, had thrown himself between her and the ambush, taking the shrapnel meant for her. She had held him as he went still, blood warm on her hands, his eyes never leaving hers until the end. The loss had carved something permanent inside her. Now, kneeling here, tears slipped down her cheeks, silent and unashamed. Blitz turned his head once, nostrils flaring again, as though he knew the scent of grief. He did not flinch from her tears. Instead, he pressed closer, a quiet warmth against her arm. For the first time in years, Riley felt seen, not as a nurse, not as a ghost from the past, but as someone who had carried the same kind of loyalty and lost it too. The surgeons moved in then, voices low and urgent. Riley stayed near, her hands steady as she pointed out the hidden bleed, the one no monitor had caught yet. "Internal, left side," she said quietly. The lead doctor glanced at her, doubt in his eyes. "You're new here," he muttered. "How would you know?" She did not answer. She simply pointed again, her voice calm. They checked. She was right. The room shifted. Respect flickered in the glances that had once dismissed her. Riley felt the old ache ease, just a little. This was not redemption, not yet. But it was purpose. She had learned to save lives instead of taking them. And tonight, that knowledge mattered. Blitz watched her every move, eyes soft now, as though he understood the weight she carried. After the last clamp was placed and Caleb's vitals steadied, Riley stepped back. Blitz remained at the stretcher's side, head resting on the edge, ears forward. She reached out slowly. Her fingers brushed the fur along his neck, warm, solid. He leaned into the touch, a small sigh escaping him. In the quiet that followed the chaos, Riley felt something stir deep within her chest. Not hope, exactly, something gentler. A reminder that loyalty, once given, does not vanish. It waits. It returns in unexpected ways. She looked at the sleeping man, at the dog who had refused to leave him, and at her own hands, hands that had once held a rifle, now holding nothing but the promise of another day. She closed her eyes for a moment. Dawn had not yet broken, but the hospital rooftop thrummed with the dying whine of rotor blades. A Navy helicopter settled like a dark bird against the gray sky, its lights cutting sharp across wet concrete. The rain had eased to a fine mist, leaving the air cool and clean, carrying the faint scent of jet fuel and distant pine. Commander Alex Harlan stepped from the elevator into the quiet corridor. 46 years old, tall and imposing, with short salt and pepper hair and steel blue eyes that had seen too many sunrises over battlefields. He wore a khaki Navy service uniform beneath a black windbreaker, polished shoes leaving soft echoes on the tile. His face bore the lines of command, responsibility etched deep, yet softened by something like regret. He had come, not as a superior, but as a man who once believed a friend was lost forever. When his gaze found Riley standing near the nurse's station, chart in hand, he stopped. For a long moment, he simply looked. Then, slowly, he raised his hand in a full, crisp salute. The hallway fell still. Riley met his eyes, returned the gesture without hesitation. In that shared silence, years collapsed. They moved to a small consultation room away from the bustle. The door closed with a soft click. Alex removed his jacket, draped it over the chair back. Riley sat across from him, hands folded, her posture straight but weary. He spoke first, voice low and measured. "The code you used, that phrase hasn't been spoken in decades." She nodded once. "It was ours, retired after the unit." He leaned forward. "We pulled bodies from the site. Tags, equipment, no survivors." Riley's gaze drifted to the window where mist clung to the glass. "You weren't supposed to find one," she said quietly. Then she told him. Night ambush, no moon, perfect betrayal. The blast that threw her clear. Crawling through fire, hiding until dawn, wounded enough to look dead. The admiral who found her later, who offered a choice, testify and risk everything or vanish. She chose silence. A clean slate, a new name, a life where she could heal instead of harm. Alex listened without interruption. When she finished, he rubbed his face slowly. "The dogs," he said. "Your unit had them, German shepherds. They were family, official members. They died for you all." Riley's throat tightened. She saw them again in memory. Steady eyes in the dark, fur warm against her side, the last one going still so she could live. "They never hesitated," she whispered. "Blitz out there. He reminds me, same loyalty, same quiet strength." For the first time she allowed herself to feel the ache, fully, not as guilt, but as gratitude. The dogs had given everything without asking for recognition. She had spent years trying to repay that debt in small, hidden ways. Now, seeing Blitz guard Caleb with the same devotion, something inside her softened. The cow-cat Ketnoy she had buried rose gently, like breath after holding it too long. They sat in the hush that followed. Outside, the mist thinned, letting faint light creep through. Alex looked at her with something close to peace. "You didn't disappear, Riley. You just became someone else, someone who still saves lives." She met his eyes. In them she saw no judgment, only the quiet acknowledgment of a shared past. The room felt warmer, the weight of years lighter by a fraction. She drew a slow breath. The corridor lights flickered faintly as footsteps approached, a soft echo like forgotten whispers. Outside, the mist had thickened again, muffling the world beyond the glass. Tension hung in the air, cool and heavy, laced with the sterile scent of linoleum and distant rain. Agent Derek Voss stood at the administration desk, back turned at first. 41 years old, with light olive skin, short, neatly trimmed black hair, no beard, and sharp dark eyes that missed nothing. He wore a long, dark gray civilian coat over a white dress shirt, black trousers, and black leather shoes, clothing chosen to blend, yet his posture betrayed a man used to shadows, calculating every move. His voice was even, clipped when he spoke. "I'm here about the dog." But his eyes, when he turned, locked on Riley with intent. He was oversight, naval intelligence, the kind who buried secrets to keep systems intact. He saw her as a liability, a ghost who had resurfaced, threatening sealed reports. Riley felt the chill in his gaze, a reminder of the world she had fled. Her heart steadied, but inside old fears stirred, the isolation she had chosen now cracking under scrutiny. The ICU alarm sounded softly, pulling them down the hall. Caleb stirred on the bed, eyes fluttering open, disoriented. 33, his tanned skin pale now, short brown hair damp with sweat, muscular frame weakened but resilient. He rasped her name, Riley, as recognition dawned, not from this night, but from a desert op years ago. Your unit saved us. Ghosts in the night." The room went still. Voss stiffened, his voice sharp. "This complicates things." Tension built, air thick with unspoken threats. Blitz rose, black and tan coat bristling, ears forward, a low growl rumbling from his chest. He positioned himself between Riley and Voss, sharp eyes fixed on the agent, nostrils flaring at the scent of unease. The dog sensed it, danger not from wounds, but from words that could erase lives. In that charged silence, Blitz lunged forward, not to attack, but to shield. He placed his strong body before Riley, gnarled deep and fierce, forcing Voss back a step. The agent's confidence cracked, hand pausing near his pocket. Riley knelt, arms wrapping around the dog's neck. Blitz leaned into her, head rubbing gently against her shoulder, a soft whine escaping him. Tears came then, hot and unbidden. "I lost everything," she whispered to him. "But you remind me why I kept going." Memory flooded, dogs like him, loyal to the end, teaching her that survival meant more than hiding. It meant protecting, forgiving the self for what war demanded. Voss watched, color draining, his mouth wan neutum evident in the flicker of his eyes, duty clashing with the raw humanity before him. Caleb reached weakly, fingers brushing Blitz's fur. The dog calmed, tail thumping once. Alex Harlan stepped in, phone in hand. "This ends now," he said quietly. A call to higher chains, and Voss nodded, retreating without a word. The room exhaled. Riley stood, hand lingering on Blitz's head. In his eyes, she saw not just a dog, but a bridge, to lost comrades, to Caleb's gratitude, to her own buried strength. The past had come not to destroy, but to heal a little more. She breathed deeply, feeling the weight lift, replaced by a quiet promise, to live not in shadows, but in the light of small, faithful acts. She smiled faintly. Morning light filtered through the ICU windows, soft and golden, chasing the last shadows from the night. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving only the clean scent of wet earth drifting in from an open vent. The hospital corridor breathed easier now, machines humming a steady lullaby, the world outside stirring awake. Riley stood at the glass partition, watching Caleb sleep. His chest rose and fell in slow rhythm, color returning to his face. 33 years of hard living, yet in rest he looked younger, almost peaceful. Blitz lay curled on the floor beside the bed, black and tan coat rising gently with each breath, one paw touching the metal frame as if to anchor himself. The dog had not left his side all night, eyes half open, ever watchful. When Riley approached, Blitz lifted his head, ears flicking forward. He rose slowly and pressed his forehead against her thigh, a quiet, deliberate gesture. She knelt, fingers sinking into warm fur, feeling the steady thump of his heart. In that touch, she felt the years of solitude begin to loosen, like frost giving way to sun. Commander Alex Harlan found her there. He spoke softly, voice carrying the weight of decisions made in hybrid rooms. "Voss is gone." The chain of command stepped in. "Your record stays sealed. No more inquiries." Riley nodded, relief washing over her like a long-held breath released. Alex paused, eyes searching hers. "They offered reinstatement, advisory role, protection. You could come back." She looked at Caleb, at Blitz, at the ordinary room filled with extraordinary grace. "I'm done with war," she said. "I choose this. Saving lives, not taking them. It's enough." Alex studied her a moment longer, then smiled faintly, the smile of a man who understood surrender to something better. He placed a hand briefly on her shoulder, then walked away, footsteps fading down the hall. Caleb woke slowly. His dark brown eyes found Riley first, then Blitz. He reached out a weak hand. "He stayed," he murmured. "He chose you too." Riley sat on the edge of the bed. Caleb's fingers brushed hers, tentative, grateful. "Take him," he said, "while I heal. He's yours if he wants to be." Blitz whined softly, tail thumping once, then twice. Riley felt tears rise again, not from loss this time, but from the simple beauty of being chosen. She thought of the dogs who had gone before, of the unit erased, of the life she had built in silence. Here was forgiveness, not in words, but in the warmth of a dog's head against her leg, in the quiet gratitude of a man she had helped save. The past had not dragged her back. It had shown her the way forward. They sat together as light grew stronger. Blitz settled between them, a bridge of fur and loyalty. Riley rested her hand on his back, feeling the rise and fall of breath, steady, faithful, unending. She understood now. Loneliness was never the end. It was only a season. Love, in its quiet forms, could find you again. Through a dog's unwavering gaze, through the slow healing of wounds, through the courage to choose kindness over shadow. She looked out at the new day, and for the first time in years, the ache inside felt like hope. She let the silence hold them. As the years gather like quiet snow, many of us sit in the stillness of empty rooms, feeling the ache of loneliness, the weight of old wounds, and the slow shadow of illness that visits too often. Yet remember this gentle truth: you are never truly alone. A loyal heart, whether from a faithful friend, a memory, or even a dog's unwavering gaze, can still find its way to you. Hold on. Your story still matters. Share it below, leave a comment, subscribe if these words touched you, and may the Lord wrap you in His peace, heal your body, and ease your solitude. You are loved, always.